3 hours or so. Fidel Castro. I'm ready.
Am I ready?
Am I ready? Oh God. Okay, so this is a beautiful building, but I hate these types of photographs of buildings with no people anywhere around them, completely asocialized, because this is not what architecture is actually like. Architecture is social. People use buildings. Right wingers use them for insurrections. Politicians use them to debate. We use them as we go about our lives. And this is not just in extraordinary ways, of course, extraordinary buildings. This is kind of like in our houses, where we drop our kids off to school, where we go to work, how we interact with each other in private spaces. Great comic, this, by the way. It's called Building Stories by Chris Ware. Strongly recommend it. And if you look at cities in general, you find that architectural plans for 2053 or wherever, they're never actually realized. They never actually come about as they're planned to. And that's precisely because of social life gets in the way, which is a strange way around of thinking of things. Um, but I also want to say that what we find with architecture are the reinforcement of certain types of boundaries, certain types of relationships between people. When you look at super tall buildings, that becomes particularly apparent. Who are these for? Where do they come from? So not only do they dominate the sort of cityscape, they dominate the imagination of what the world is and what it could be. World's tallest building, Burj Khalifa. Has anyone been there? No, no. 1.5 billion pounds it cost to build. 820 meters. Anyone been here? No, no. These are like globally famous buildings. This is in Beijing. It's a central TV station. But these types of buildings raise really significant questions about how we relate to the world. This gold mine, um, guess how deep it is? Quick. No, 4 kilometers. Incredible. A gold mine in South Africa, just outside Johannesburg. So it really raises questions about how we relate to the earth and what types of spaces we create when we're doing that. I'm particularly interested at the moment in emptiness, in openness. So this is an atrium in a casino. That was an atrium in a casino, the world's biggest, 29 million cubic feet. It's an atrium here. We've all walked through it. There it is. This is where I work. This is Alder Hey Hospital. Huge volumes of empty space. And I think that what I want to suggest is how we actually, how we as a society, what types of buildings we construct and what they're for is a really, really significant thing. That's always been true of architecture. It's always been the case that the powerful get to articulate their vision of the world onto cities, right? And, when you think of buildings like the Palace of Westminster or the Barcelona Pavilion, that was good, wasn't it? Or the Barcelona Pavilion. These are sort of ideas of how society should work. They're ideas of how the future's going to be. So when we look at architecture, what we find are these kind of experiments with how we should organize not just buildings, but how society should be organized. The really optimistic thing about this, I think, is that it's not written, right? You know, this is now Liverpool 1, so will be familiar to most people here. You know, there are all sorts of experiments with how the future's going to look, right? These are sites of power, so they're not completely democratic. This is an image of where, thank you, Liverpool. So this is part of the Liverpool Waters development. 42 high-rise buildings due to open in 2040. Watch that space. But the point is, the optimism is that the world could be different, right? The buildings could be different. They could support different types of uses, right? We could build different types of houses. We could redistribute wealth. And that is precisely why I think architecture is such an important space when we're thinking about the future of cities. Precisely because it could be different, is why I want to suggest it's important. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Paul. Oh, there we go. Thanks very much. Our next speaker is Caroline.